Welcome to Crunch Time, a program dedicated to helping you survive the crunch times in your life, whether they are caused by accidents, natural disasters, poverty, economic recession, depression, or all-out economic collapse, or whether they are caused by your realization that today's food supply is being contaminated by artificial fertilizers, pesticides, and genetically modified organisms, and over-processing of crops into what can hardly be called food. We want to help you through the crunch times in your future by teaching you what we have learned about organic gardening, food storage, and food preparation. We'll bring you into our kitchen and into our garden and share with you what we have learned, hopefully before your crunch times arrive. Now here is Chef Francois. Welcome back to Crunch Time, where Jesus is King and all our desires are to serve Him. Today, once again, as we did last week, we're going to go to the garden and we're going to continue doing our spring planting, cultivating, composting, and work in the garden.
Well, I'm at the garden on the 19th of March. I have watered the leeks and onions, and gee, I don't remember where I put. Oh, carrots, and the kohlrabi, the peas, and all the other stuff that I planted in there. I even planted the lettuce and radishes, and now I'm gonna trim back these brown leaves, leave maybe the centers growing, pull all the rest of the weeds out in this whole area right here, and then I'm gonna plant some parsnips right in here. Oh, I gotta water my strawberries too. The potatoes I don't think I have to. Everything else, oh, I gotta water the garlic as well. I have watered the strawberries and the garlic, and now we're just gonna pull these weeds out here in the kale patch, break off some kale branches, whatever I don't pull out I'll end up turning in, so it shouldn't be too bad of a deal. Pull this whole plant right up. Maybe when I go to dig it. Break these brown leaves off. They break off pretty easy. We're left with just a small plant from which the leaves will spread right out. To dig that one out. Now, I've seen some gardens where the kale grows all summer long, and they just pull off the bottom leaves, and by the end of the summer it looks like a palm tree. I could do that to these and still plant between them some parsnips. Brown leaves pretty much fall off anyway. This is a parsnip. I'm going to pull that one up and harvest it. Parsnip that grew in the kale patch. Nice parsnip. That's a kale plant. This will be a kale plant if I can get it up. Parsnip's gonna be supper. Another parsnip right here. Parsnips can last all winter long. Another one right here. Not quite as big. Another one right in here. Ooh. That looks like a rotted one. Ugh, kale plant. Another kale plant. Couple more parsnips right here at least. 4 I see. Alright, dig around that. Huh, 2 of them. Right next to each other. Another one right here. Big one. Multi-rooted. Another one down in here. Big, huge one. Multi-rooted. Another one. I don't think I had any over there. There. Take all these weeds. And kale plants. There's another parsnip and another. So, we got a handful of parsnips. Alright, gonna put all this stuff in the compost pile. Come back and dig the rest of it up. Maybe put some mulch on it, dig it up, turn it in. I'm gonna eat this one leaf right here. Alright, I'm going to try a new tool for the edge of the compost pile. Works no better than the shovel. But it works. There we go. Bust up these big pieces. Wash off the parsnips and bring them home. Alright, I guess I'm gonna stand on this, dig from the wall out. Pretty good soil already. Almost don't need any compost. But you gotta make it good for every year from now on. You gotta replenish whatever you take out of the soil. So when you shovel, you dig, and then you kind of throw it down on the top of the hump next to your hole, let part of it fall in. Try to get the compost to fall in the furthest. I'm riding my bike home, so I took all the parsnips, put it into this plastic bag that I was carrying a spare inner tube with, and I'm gonna put that right down into my side saddle here. Zip it up towards the back on both sides. Let it hang out the back. First thing I'll do is get the dirt off the wall. Smooth out this end. Make sure we keep it off the stones we're going to walk on. There. Pretty much smoothed out. Now I've got to decide, am I going to plant in rows like I tried to last year, or am I going to plant by scattering? If I plant by scattering, I'm going to have to water the whole thing without being able to concentrate on just the rows. So what I did last year is I just marked the rows with the square, or with the this thing, concrete rake. We'll put 2 rows on there. On that side. Half a row in there. Half a row in there. One more over here. Put another row right here. There. So we can see 6 rows. where I'm going to plant. Here's my parsnip seeds, and I'm planting them every 3 inches the best I can. Oh, there's 2. I want only 1. I'm dripping too much sweat off my hat. Hard to pick up one at a time. Alright, we have planted. When I say we, I mean Gage and I. How old are you, Gage?
8.
8 years old. Okay. Gage is my helper here in the garden. We have cleaned up the weeds. We've dug in some compost. We've smoothed it all out. We made 6 rows. And Gage and I planted all 6 rows with parsnips every 3 or 4 inches apart. We've watered it. And now we're going to look for a place to plant cabbage. Can't plant it here because we've already planted stuff here. We can't plant it here because there's already stuff here. We could pull up the spinach, but there's a lot of good spinach there to eat, and it's going to keep growing, so I'd like to let that grow. Can't plant it there because we've already planted stuff. And if Gage listens, he'll learn something on this one. We can't plant it there because we planted last year the same kind of stuff right there. We planted cabbage right here, and we planted broccoli and Romanesco and cauliflower and collards. Cauliflower was way over here. So all of this area is the same kind of stuff as cabbage, so we can't plant it in the same place because you don't want to plant the same crop 2 years in a row because it'll deplete the soil, plus it's more likely to get disease. However, way over here on the edge, we had beans last year. And I was thinking of planting beans here again, but gee, you're not supposed to do that. So we could plant cabbage here, though I'd like to plant something tall here. So I think we should plant corn here, but not yet because it's not warm enough yet. So we shouldn't plant it here. So we're out of spots on the upper garden. On the lower garden, we had beans here. No, we had cucumbers here. Actually, I think I might put cucumbers or beans right here this year and cucumbers up here. That would be flip-flopping where we had them last year.
And right here,
last year we had tomatoes in here, and then after we took the tomatoes out, we planted the Chinese cabbage called Napa, along with a little bit of kale. The kale didn't do too good because we didn't cover it, didn't protect it at all. But over here we had spinach that we did protect, and it's growing really good. And the kale across there and there we protected, and that's growing real good. So if I plant beans down there, I'm going to plant between the kale plants because they're still growing real good. I don't want to get rid of them. And then after the beans start growing and start shading out the kale and kills the kale, it's no big deal. But here we have rutabagas, and before that we had spinach and mustard.
no,
Not spinach, lettuce and mustard.
no, very last one we had tomatoes.
Tomatoes were only from there back.
And
Here, this first 4 feet, we had mustard here, and then rutabagas, and then lettuce, and then rutabagas. The tomatoes were from your feet back. This side over here belongs to Shao. That's his place to grow stuff, so we're not going to plant anything over there. So somewhere in this spot right here, we should pick a spot to do cabbage. Gage and I have been looking all over for a place to plant cabbage. I don't really want to plant it over there like we discussed because it'll be in the way, and I don't want a big area of cabbage.
So we'll plant it right where
So what we've decided is we'll plant 3 cabbages in this row between the rutabagas, 3 cabbages in that row, maybe 3 or 4 here, 3 or 4 out there. And the whole cabbage plant's going to be right here in this 4 foot by 5 foot area. Or I might even put 3 or 4 down between that row of rutabagas over there. So there's not going to be a lot of cabbage.
we don't want to put a lot so they don't block the sun.
I've got just a little bit here.
From the small plants that are going to grow here. You heard?
Here, you want to hold that?
Sure.
And I will put 1 plant right there, 1 plant right here, and another one right there. And if I can keep the dirt off my hands, another one right here, and here, and here, and boy, I got so much dirt in my hand it's hard to tell the dirt from the cabbage. One there, right there, another one right there. Trying to pick the biggest seeds I got. Don't know why, but okay, there. I'm gonna cover these up. No, I guess I didn't. Alright. Still got the cabbages in my hand here. Seeds. So, plant 1 right there. 1 right here. And couple little seeds here, so I'll water it over there, and don't have quite enough to finish up over here. And I can still save this little spot here to plant something else. Well, our garden in the middle of March, half of it at least is planted, and usually that's not until at least the middle of April, maybe middle of May in some years. But we had such a warm winter, and they're predicting 80s this week. I couldn't help but get my parsnips in and see if they'll germinate better than they did last year. Haven't videotaped this garden for a while. The spinach and the kale is just going gangbusters, big time. Got to get my daughter and wife to start eating some. The rutabagas, they're starting to plump up finally. Over here we've got a tray that we had planted our test plants way back in January. The little plant that's there is a dragon fruit cactus plant, which is growing pretty well. And we also had some tomatoes, the little yellow tomatoes. We had planted 3 or 4 of those tests, and they were still growing, so I figured I'd transplant them out here in the garden. And I got another one down there along with a corn plant. It'll never bloom, I'm sure. But last week I also took this whole area in the front here, in front of the glass, which wasn't growing anything anyway, and I pulled the glass out. You can see where it was on that line, and I planted in the back of it over here, and in the front of it the whole length, and some over on the other end over there. Planted all the tomatoes I had left, potatoes that I had left from the potatoes that I planted in the big garden. And as you can see, in some places I let the the stems stick out like that one, like this one here. There's a purple one down there. There's another one here. Purple ones there and there, so that they'll get a start. Most of it is buried underground and it'll grow by itself, but figured I'd let some of them stick up. Also down here we've got the third tomato plant and the corn plant that we planted way back in January. Corn, I don't expect it to do anything. Rutabagas, as you can see, are finally starting to plump up. You can see on this one here that there's the root is starting to get big and round. Only about 1 inch across, but it'll get up to about 4 or 5 inches before we pull it. March 19th, Monday, and our starter plants have started. We have Tiny Tim tomatoes. We have Sugar Lump tomatoes. We have a Concagua pepper. Have not started yet. Onions, I've got one here, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 started, 5, 6 maybe. And then we've got Mr. Stripey tomatoes. Actually, I see a couple onions over here on the corner of the Mr. Stripey. Another little thing over here. And we've got chocolate cherry. 1 tomato there. Another one over here. And then the subarctic. At least 1, possibly 2, 3, 4, 5. But they're starting. But it looks like weeds may be starting as well. I'm not exactly sure I like the idea of using soil out of the garden as a starter for this. I think it might be better to use virgin soil so we know for sure that there's no weeds in it. Well, here we are washing the parsnips that we pulled out of the garden. Sure is nice to be able to pull fresh vegetables out of the garden year round. All winter long we did it. Now in the spring, before anything has a chance to grow, we're pulling parsnips out, we're pulling rutabagas out, we're still eating kale, still eating spinach. Pretty soon we're going to have radishes and lettuce, and gee, it's so nice to be able to harvest year-round, even in upstate New York. And I've proven to you that it's not that hard to do. A little bit of glass or a little bit of plastic is all it takes so that we can eat fresh vegetables year-round. Last minute of our show, I'd like to tell you about the real reason for this show. Jesus Christ, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Without Jesus as my Savior, I would not be confident entering into these trying times that lay ahead. If Jesus is not your Lord and Savior, I suggest you send me an email at crunchtime@roadrunner.com. and ask me how you can join the God who loves you, His Son Jesus Christ, and His disciples in everlasting life. For now, I say to you, God bless and keep you and yours. I'll see you next week on Crunch Time with Chef Francois.